Wow, this is much darker than I expected. I don't know what we're gonna do. I guess it's just gonna look like we're having a fireside chat. So anyway, I was gonna do this earlier, but my little sweet granddaughter, little 6-year-old granddaughter says, "Oh, please, grandmother, go for a walk with us." How am I supposed to say no to that? She was so sweet. So that's what I did. I went for a walk and I got back and decided just to do this a little bit later, but it's dark. That's probably not bad, actually. So, anyway, okay, what I would like to discuss. And I really, when I say that I want your opinion, I actually do. I love to hear people's opinions. Uh, to me, it so broadens my own perspective when I hear other people give me their opinions, and it is fascinating to me how we all think so very differently. And I've discussed this with my family, this idea of what's freedom, because everybody has their own opinion of what freedom is, and we were told when we were young that well, okay. Now, you may have been raised differently. I always assume that my experience is similar to other people's experiences, and it may not be, but I was raised in the 19 really in school in the 1970s. And, we were still putting our hand on our hearts and pledging allegiance to the flag. And we were still, told God has given us this freedom. We are God's special nation. We're a shining light on a hill because we are a nation that believes in freedom. And they didn't see freedom was given to us by our rights in the Declaration of Independence. No, the very founding fathers themselves said these rights are from God. And we learned about Patrick Henry echoing in our brains, "Give me liberty or give me death." As a Seventh day Adventist, we were preparing to die for the Sabbath, for keeping the Sabbath holy. And then, as an American citizen, you're told you may be a martyr for this God given liberty. You know, um, what brought this to mind was I was just watching a video on Twitter or something, YouTube, something like that. And former President Barack Obama, okay, I just want to make sure I got to be able to see this. Okay, I have to get this a little bit smaller so I can see what's going on. All right. So sorry. I have this is me alone. I don't have anybody but me to edit, do anything with this, which is, I'm sure, fine because not that many people are watching. So I think I might have to get some help here if I get too many people that are watching. But anyway, okay. So I was just watching a video with former President Barack Obama, and he was speaking about the rise of totalitarianism in the world. And what I thought was interesting is that I thought that Barack Obama, um, when he was president, was the closest thing to a totalitarian president that's been in my life. Um, because I believe that he was overstepping his boundaries as president of the United States when he forced us all to have health care. I personally have a very strong opinion about health care. And I'm not going to buy healthcare. I don't want to. I think it is a pyramid scheme. I think that uh, if you can pay with cash, okay. Well, I have a lot. I know this. I'm opening up a can of worms here, but I really believed that Obama's health care because it helped pay for abortion. I was morally against it. And we spent many, many hundreds and hundreds of dollars paying the fine. For years, we paid the fine while he was in office because I was morally against his having no, having any kind of health insurance. I'm sorry, I just don't believe in it. Now, I'm not saying anybody's being immoral by having it. It's just this is my opinion. I wasn't going to have it. So anyway, I thought he okay, I was one time in a taxi in DC while Obama was um, in office, and there was a man driving the taxi, and he said, Obama is the most uniting president we've ever had. And I thought, you've got to be kidding me. You are so in your bubble of DC, you have no idea how people outside look at him. He had very divisive politics as far as I'm concerned. But my point in is not to try to convince you of anything, but just to show you everybody has a very different view of what's happening. Um, and so lots of people disagree with me, and that's okay. I'm not trying to make you agree with me. I'm just saying every single person sees totalitarianism differently. Okay, so President Obama, former President Obama, then started saying that his company or his association group or whatever he was doing, they're going to target Hungary and Poland because they're rejecting open borders. And well, what are you trying to do? You're trying to direct and force other countries to do what you said. Isn't that the very definition of totalitarianism? Let them do what they want to do. They're their own country. Okay, so what we're doing is we're all looking at the same values, and one sees it as a value, let's just say, of independence, states' rights, or federal rights. Like right now, it's one of the Chicago, Illinois is right now saying states' rights because they're trying to block ICE, the immigration police. They're trying to stop them and say, well, we have states' rights to do that. And then the federal government says, no, 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 we have the right to come in, and immigration is a federal authority to come in and take over. So we're clashing right now in America over values, not just law, but just the values that underpin the laws. So this is the problem. In America, we have all been very much indoctrinated into this idea that we have to fight for what we believe. Um, I grew up here being told that's what you have to do. President Ronald Reagan said that freedom is only one generation from being lost. And so you must fight for what you believe is right. And the problem is the government's never told us what was right, which I'm not saying they should, but the problem is now that we're so diverse, that's another thing that we've been told. Diversity, diversity, diversity is so good. It's our strength. But yet, you know what? When we have such diverse opinions about what freedom is, it is a real problem. When we all believe we've got to fight for freedom, what does that mean? Because Charlie Kirk supposedly died for freedom of speech. And yet many people say what he said was hate speech and should not have been allowed. Oh, many Christians are on opposite sides on the immigration viewing their opponents' ideas as being dangerous to our country. So we have Islamists here who are always going to be protesting on our land about Gaza because they're because so many of us are pro-Israel. They've brought that fight into America, which wasn't there 10 years ago. We Nobody even hardly knew anything that was going about Gaza and Israel. And they're gonna and the Islamists have told us at least uh, several of those people have and their views leaders, Islamist leaders have said that they're going to advocate for Sharia law in America and they're going to get it because they believe that is the right thing to do. They're in a free country. They came over here and they're going to fight for Sharia law. And we welcomed them in. And many of them are not pushing that, but they're not pushing against it. Most of them aren't. So because that's what they believe is right. That's what they have been told their whole life. That's their religious belief. Okay, and then we take Israel. Many Jews and fundamentalists have moral and from biblical background, they feel like they have to advocate for Israel. You heard Ted Cruz talk about this. And that's what they want to do with their freedom. They want to advocate for Israel. And so that's what they see is who is morally correct in this. Now, my personal opinion is there's good and bad on both sides. That's just the way life is on everything. In every single organization, you've got the people that take what is good and make it bad from within. So anyway, so there's truth in all of this. And then one of the biggest issues that have been one of the biggest issues in America since the 1980s, and even a little bit before, was Roe versus Wade. Now, there are many women who will never vote for a candidate that's pro-life. They're just not going to do it. This is their one issue they're going to stand up for no matter what. And there are many pro-lifers who the abortion is the single issue that they will not, they're just not going to compromise on it. So this value of life, where for one side it's the woman and for the other side it's the child, and this is going to be an eternal clash. It's just going to be until we can all have the same values. And so if when opposing two things are the most important thing on most women's agenda, we've got a perpetual civil war, if not, I mean, allegorical civil war, obviously not a real one. Okay, so there are people that are never going to stop hating Trump. They're just not. It's not in the cards. They will never, I don't care what he does. If he starts peace for the whole world, they are never, ever going to like him. And they're going to advocate. There are some people like Adventists who have been willing to die for what they believe. That's what we were raised to do. You give me liberty or give me death. Give me the Sabbath or give me death. So they're just not going to give up on what they believe. And some people are willing to kill, not just to die for, but to actually kill for what they believe. And a lot of people are willing to cheer on an assassination and even murder against those who they disagree with. One Virginia candidate texted out publicly that his fantasies of killing a conservative and his children. Well, more than likely, he was just, you know, he didn't mean it. But if you're a candidate for Virginia and you post that publicly, you should withdraw from the race. That's just why would you be willing to risk? There's something wrong that would post that, willing to risk what he what he was working for. So I don't understand it. But anyway, so here we've got a clash. Many people believe they are the ones who are right. They are the virtuous ones. They wear the white hats. And anyone who disagrees with them are the, are their enemies. They're not just their enemies, but they're the country's enemies. And they're always being told these people are fascists, these people are totalitarians, these people are, they're going to destroy our country. So we've ramped up, and even being called Nazis. And we've ramped up the rhetoric to where it's just this emotional explosion that is going to happen. But it's not just emotional, because these emotions are based on values that we no longer share in America. So we have a crisis and a clash of values on our soil, and we no longer share an idea of what is the right thing to do. It used to be that everybody shared the idea that it was wrong to be promiscuous and that pornography was wrong. Not long ago, people did those things, but everyone agreed that they were wrong. Now you're judgmental. You are radical right if you believe that pornography should be banned, or that we should teach in our schools. It's not a good idea to be sleeping around. Nobody wants anyone's values to be considered the right ones. And so this is a massive problem. And I know you all know this. I'm just, sometimes I like to process it out loud with you guys. So now what I want to ask you is, what is freedom? Is freedom just doing what you want to do? Worshiping how you want to worship? Living like you want to live? See, as you can see, a country that's divided on, it used to be live and let live, stay out of everybody's business, don't get involved. But the problem is, there is now a group of people, which is becoming more and more the majority, that says, no, you're going to live like I want you to live. You are going to jail if if you say anything wrong about my choices, if you don't use the name that I want you to use, the pronouns that I want to use. Now you're a bad person. Now you are. So it is not about us just doing what we want to do. Now everybody wants to have everyone else not offend them. And now we have to reach out and control other people. Well, if we all have the same values, if we all agree that we're not going to run the red light, because that's what the group has decided, that we've all decided that red means stop, yellow means slow down, and green means go when we're driving. Well, what if somebody comes in and says, "Well, I have the freedom to do what I want on a red light," and then they go fight City Hall, and we're going to make it illegal to force everyone to believe. That's a patriarchal thing. The red stop sign, the red stoplight is, uh, you know, patriarchal and white and Protestant America. No, no, we can stand against this. So this has just gotten ridiculous. We cannot function in a society where we all decide we're going to freedom means we get to do what we want to do, and then we're going to make everyone else accept what we do. It's not going to work. We all need to understand that when we have basic values that compete with each other, we are now in a position where the very definition of words, the very foundation of what it meant to be free is being changed. And now we're clashing. Oops. We're clashing on the very values that we've always had in America. And it's worked up until now. But you know what? Until we have the same vision of what freedom is, our freedoms are going to, it's not that it's going to be taken away from us. Freedoms are going to cease to exist. There is going to be some group that will win out because that's just reality. Look at history. You've got to understand when two things are fighting each other, one thing is going to win. And in America, we always believed that free speech would be the vehicle in which we would work these things out in a nonviolent way. But now we even have people who don't want to talk about it. They just want it to be the power to do as they wish. And if there's enough of them, they're going to do it. And I am, just so you know, I am not a Republican and I'm not a Democrat. I have a very different view of politics. And I'm not either one of those things. And I grew up Republican. I know exactly what they stand for. And I do vote, I tend to vote conservative, but it's because it's the only thing I've got. When you only have two choices, you have to choose one. And I tend to vote conservative, even though I think there's a great corruption in our politics right now. So I try very hard to understand all sides. But as it is right now, I'm projecting down in the future. I'm taking it, I'm saying, our future, we cannot continue like this. Somebody's going to win. And we've got to go back to understanding what is the meaning of freedom. Because freedom does not and never was intended by our founding fathers to mean doing exactly what you want and then forcing other people to submit to what you think you want. Okay, well, it's getting very dark. It's super dark outside. So I know it's just getting too dark to watch. So I will come back maybe if I can tomorrow and we'll just see. Anyway, God bless. Just things to think about. Please tell me your opinion. I know you guys all have a lot of wisdom out there and I would love to hear it. Okay, God bless.